Another way to debug our application is using Visual Studio Code Debugger. Visual Studio also provides with a debugger tool which we can use as well how we did with Chrome. But first of all, and very important information that you have to do before setting up the debugger in Visual Studio Code, you have to turn off Metro. The Metro, how it's opened in our terminal automatically when we run iOS React Native app. So in that case, we need to close Metro. The same thing can happen with Android. So let's close that. So I will just stop it here, like by pressing Ctrl C or Command C, and then I'm going to close it totally. And as you see here that we don't have any debugging anymore, and our application cannot be loaded, and we have now normal phone. So in that case, we are going now to set up a debugger using Visual Studio Code. So how we can do that? First, you need to go to this button. We can say run and debug, and then you will find here something like create a launch.json file. And launch.json file is the file where we are going to put the configuration for our debugger. So when you click on this link, then you will get some options. One of them must be React Native. But as you see here, I don't have this option because I must install the React Native tool extension, which I have told you before. This is React Native tools. So in a case that it doesn't work, sometimes it's asks you for reload. So you can just reload the application again or clicking on reload, or for example, you can just disable and enable it again, and you will have that option. So for example, I have here again just to be sure that it's working. Okay, it's fine. Now I will click on debugging tool and I will create launch.json file. Now I have React Native option. So if you don't have this option, just restart the extension and you will have it again. Okay, you click on React Native, then you will get another options. One of them is attach to packager. There are multiple debugging way, but for example, attaching to packager is the easiest one. So we can uncheck this one and add attach to packager. Now I am clicking OK, and it will generate for me a file, JSON file, where it has some configuration called attach to packager. And this attach to packager has some commands where it will work with my debugger. Okay, now we need to run our application. We are not going to run our application in a way how we did before. Like I will not go to command line and I will say npx react native run iOS. No, we are going to let the attach to packager to run the application for me. So if I go here to the debug, of course, like if you are on the file list, you go again to the debugger, you will have button here, and this button called run and debug. And you will have multiple options. One of them is attach to packager. It's based on the configuration which we have here in the launch.json. And if you are curious to know where is this launch.json is created, as you see, it will be in .vscode folder. As I told you before, that inside this folder, we are putting some configuration which we share with the team, like a settings, like launch, like for example, some recommendation for extensions, etc. So now we can add and run our application. So let's click on run. And as you see, it's going to run the application exactly how Metro is doing. If you remember that we have the same sign here. And now the packager got started. Okay, nice. But now my application didn't start automatically. So you need to do that and run it manually. So you just click on it and you have, of course, as I told you, the application will be installed on your machine or on your device, and you just run it. And as you see, like the attacher is already knows that there is some phone is running the application. So now we can start debugging it. Okay, let's try to place a breakpoint. I'm going to put here a breakpoint on our constant, which we create before, for example, this one, and then save. So as you see, the debugging start to work. So I am going now step by step, and here I have the value of X, exactly how we had with Chrome. Okay, sometimes the breakpoint will not work for you. Because we need to activate the debug with Chrome. So I don't know, they are calling it activate debug with Chrome, but it should be like only activate debugging. So how we can activate debugging? If you remember, we pressed shortcut, which is Ctrl D or Command D on Mac. And sometimes you need to press multiple times Ctrl D because it doesn't appear fast. So you have to do it multiple times until it appear. So now after that, you see here start debugging with Chrome, and then you click on it. If you don't click on that, for example, I'm going to stop the debugging, and then okay, I need to continue my application. Okay, let's continue. You see there is no any response anymore because it's not attached to the debugging, because I cannot now debug my application. This breakpoint cannot see what's happening in the application. So it's very important to activate debug with Chrome. Okay, it's written with Chrome, but it's with anything which is like attached to packager. So we can just write here attached debugger or debug with Chrome. Now I can place my breakpoint, reload the application. I stopped on the breakpoint. So you must be sure of two things. First, close the Metro, the terminal which we closed at the beginning. Second, you must enable the debugging here in the DevTools of the application, how we have it here. Another important information if you want to stop debugging, because you know that debugging is making the application very slow, so you need to stop the debugging. You have to stop the debugging by doing many things. First, you need to click on this stop debugger and also stop debugging in the DevTools as you see here, and as well you need to find a command by pressing F1. And in the F1, you need to search for React Native stop packager. It's very important to do that because otherwise the packager is still running in the background, and when you run the packager again or you run a new application, it will tell you the packager is already running and you will not know because you stopped everything and you stopped it from here and it's still running and you don't know from where to stop it. So the best way to do that is by doing and pressing F1 and finding stop packager from React Native command, and then it will stop the packager totally and you will be able to run, for example, the application again as normal as we saw in the terminal, or you can run it again with attached to packager. By mentioning the error which I told you, maybe you will get this issue as you see here, that you would get another debugger is already connected to packager. Please close it before trying to debug with VSCode. So this is very important. So you need as well to stop the packager, as I told you here, stop the packager stopped, and you need also to check the terminal, everything is fine, you don't have anything running, and also the terminal which we have used here, so you need to know that or close it totally. So I have it here, quit. Okay, you have now on your phone disconnected from Metro, and then you run attached to packager and the application will run again. So as you see, I have it running again, but I don't have any application. So you just need to open the DevTools again. And for example, maybe you can say reload the application just to get it connected again. And as well, debug with Chrome to activate the debugging with breaking points. So all of this troubleshooting, you have to take care. Watch this video multiple times if you have problems, then you will know how to debug with VS Code.